So continuing on with our Christmas affordability tech series, we have our second video, which is of this, the Samsung Tab A9 8.7, which obviously is a more compact, smaller, portable tablet. And tablets tend to be, don't know why, the go-to purchase when it comes to tech in Christmas. Now this one in particular is 8.7 inch. It's a direct rival to something like the Redmi Pad SE 8.7. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is a direct comparison to that tablet, because although that one does sit a little bit more expensive, or leaves around about 20 to 30 pounds more expensive, it sort of sits within that same category around less than 150 pounds. So what do you get here? You get a TFT panel essentially on the Tab A9 8.7, 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage, which is again expandable, and that's kind of it. You do get a pretty chunky 8,000 odd milliamp hour battery as well, so there's nothing here that's overly spectacular. There's no pen support, there's no super AMOLED display, there's no high refresh rate, none of that exists. And you'll notice throughout this review, there's a lot of key points we're going to go through that kind of make me wonder why you would buy this over the Redmi Pad SE 8.7. Let's get straight into juicy stuff. I'm going to say this quickly, we're not going to cover off cameras on this particular tablet because essentially they're probably going to be terrible and it's pointless in covering those. They're going to form a function for a very small minority of people who buy tablets. Anyway, performance in terms of OS, let's touch on gaming. Instantaneously, I will tell you this is probably the biggest issue we encountered using the Tab A9 8.7 in comparison to the Redmi Pad SE 8.7 is the way it performs when you're running games. Now, it's hard to tell, but if you really sort of push this, even when it comes to sort of your basic sort of gaming experiences, it does struggle and struggle badly. You can see throughout both gaming examples there is significant slowdown, frame rate drops as well, which kind of make you understand that this particular tablet is underpowered. That 4GB of RAM with that entry-level processor are not necessarily doing this justice when it comes to running things that would push it to its limits and kind of, how can I exhaust it to an extent. And these aren't exactly the most graphically intense game. I know this is an entry-level tablet, but if you move away from the gaming experience and look at things that most people probably use it for, things like the OS as a whole, it runs reasonably well. What I would say is that 60Hz panel does work pretty great when it comes to the OS. There's not much slowdown. It represents the quality of the photo and the video. And generally, if you're watching and streaming on here, again, it looks pretty good. Switching between apps is fine, I would say, and that's probably the overall experience when it comes to OS as a whole and the performance in general. It's fine. It's not going to blow you away, but you do feel as though this does struggle when it comes to really things that push it a lot. But then if you move across to video, again, TFT panel, you're not going to get those super dark, rich black and strong colors when it comes to watching any sort of video like a nature stuff or like any sort of car shows, etc. It's going to give you a slightly flatter profile. Is it serviceable? Yes. Is the stuff watchable? Yes. Does it fit the requirements in terms of video and in terms of browsing and other things and using the OS? Absolutely 100%. And a lot of people are not going to care when it comes to that. They're not going to want that overly rich color. What it does do is assure you that moving forward for the next few years, Samsung will continue to support the Samsung Tab A9 8.7 with software updates, with refinements, with new features as well. So that kind of investment does make a lot of sense because a lot of people do buy budget tablets, they default to Samsung because they do represent great long-term value for money. Then let's quickly touch on design and build. 8.7 inch, gotta say, it is incredibly compact. You do get borders which are not symmetrical, so you get chunky lip and top, and then the borders along the sides that make up the frame actually are reasonably slim. It is meant to be used almost like a Kindle, sort of in portrait mode, as where the camera lives right up here. And then you've got speakers at the top and at the bottom with USB-C, a headphone jack, and then your memory card slot on the side. All of that is as expected. And how does it feel to touch? It feels pretty good. It's part plastic, part aluminium frame, I'm guessing, but it does feel really solid, very lightweight, super compact, easy to hold in the hand. You could just as easily chuck this in your bag and it would be absolutely fine. And that's kind of the design elements of the Tab A9 8.7. There's nothing spectacular happening here. And I think that overall, if you were to go back to the start of this video when we make the comparison between the A9 and the Tab SE 8.7 from Redmi, there is a significant difference. The Redmi Tab ran better, felt more powerful, felt like you could get more out of it. You could push it more when it came to things like gaming and OS performance. Those would be sort of the main highlights of why you'd get that over the Samsung Tab. The other side of it is, though, however, I think if you look at it just from a features point of view and what could happen in the future, then the Samsung Tab would be the one to get. But ultimately, the decision is entirely yours and which one you think would be best suited to your environment and your budget. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one, as always, we out.